Todd Auten in the house.
Growing up on the water with fishing in their blood, Matt Arey and Bryan Thrift have spent the last 10 years competing against the biggest names in professional bass fishing. Their success has landed them ranked among the top anglers in the world. If you're looking to become a better angler, then this show has all the answers. Join us and follow along to get actionable tips, tactics, and tried and true techniques directly from the pros. Welcome to Let's Talk Fish.
All right, we are live in studio. I know nobody has anything else to do tonight. That's a fact because we're basically semi-quarantine, getting ready to probably be full-blown quarantine. And yes, we can, Roger Love, the studio is big enough to practice social distancing. Actually, they recommend less than 10 people, so we have 3. And we're all fairly healthy as far as we know right now.
Fairly.
We have Todd Auten in the house tonight. Todd, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
And he came all the way from Lake Wylie. Why you hit me in the elbow? Did I do something wrong?
Is that not social distancing?
No, you're not supposed to touch me. You're not supposed to touch anybody. Slide my chair over here a little bit. That's why we all have you probably ought, never mind. All right, we won't take it that far. All the way from Lake Wylie, South Carolina. And Todd, congratulations again on your second place finish at the Bassmaster Classic. Runner-up to Mr. Hank Cherry, who we had in studio last week. And if y'all missed that show, it is uploaded on our YouTube channel now. What's up, Adam? Yes, we did, Scott. We saw that. Oh, I got to say something about Scott, too. But we did see that 9-pounder. So, Smoke, if anybody was watching the MLF deal, he was out of it. He was like in 11th or 12th place, I think, right?
11th, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, and there's like 25 minutes left, or there was.
2 or 3 pounds out, probably.
And he caught a 9-pounder, just in normal Smoke fashion.
Then
and
he caught a 9.8 and then followed it up with a 2.8.
Then he caught another keeper.
Another one. Yeah.
So I think he's safely inside the cut for tomorrow. So congrats to Thrift, a.k.a. Smoke. And they're down at Lake Fork, which I'm kind of jealous of.
Yeah, I know. We need to be there right now.
Now, I mean, I don't know if there's a bad time to go to Fork, but now would be good, in a week would be good, in a month would be good. The only difference about when we go there, and we'll talk about that for just a second, is that you fished, I think, one of the TTBCs that I may have fished. Did you fish the one that Keith Combs caught like 110 pounds in 3 days?
Well, that was like 2 or 3 of them, wasn't it?
Well, no, this was when they were all offshore. I was one of the idiots up shallow, but everybody else was offshore.
I think I fished like 6 of them, and, you know, some of them was through the PAA and stuff.
Yeah, so this one, the reason I think you fished this one is because I had qualified through the PAA, and I think you and I both qualified that year through the PAA.
Yeah.
So, but my point was, when they were all offshore, it was like, the problem with that is it was phenomenal, but it fished really small.
Oh, yeah.
Really small. And with 88 of our guys out there fishing offshore, it could be a little tricky, and we might be stepping on each other's toes a little bit. But most everybody gets along pretty good. All right, so let's get right into it. You're getting a lot of congrats, by the way. Jason McCall said congrats. Peter Don Kelly said congrats. Roger Love said congrats. So getting a lot of love out there from the fans and viewers. Hey, Justin Johnson, thanks for tuning in. Justin Johnson, I think it might have been who might have commented on Facebook earlier that said he might have roomed with you before. Was it Justin that might have roomed with you before?
Yeah.
Yeah, Justin.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you know who I'm talking about. So Justin said that y'all roomed together back in the day, maybe some Everstart days or something like that, Costa days.
We fished, I remember fishing down at Okeechobee and there and Smith Lake. I think he won Smith, co-angler.
There you go. Well, congrats, late congrats to Justin. Wilson, Scott mentioned Wilson. If we had a camera right now, Wilson just got fed, and he's so fat. Hold on, Jeff.
I might can get it.
Jeff might show y'all Mr. Wilson.
Let me see if
he got fed, and apparently the 60 goldfish that the feeder fish that we normally purchase from the pet store to feed Wilson with, they got a little goldfish happy tonight. Maybe they're shutting down for the virus and they're trying to get rid of all of them or something. But I think they gave us like an extra 50, and I don't know how many he's eaten, but he cannot stay off the bottom. It's so bad he can't stay off the bottom. Just wait. If Jeff can get it up, he'll show you a close-up of this dude's gut. I mean, he truly looks like, I guess it's the right time of year. He looks like a pre-spawn.
Yeah,
he looks
he
pretty
does.
strong. I mean, maybe can't see his belly from that angle. I'm gonna make Jeff actually get up and do some leg work here.
He's staring at us anyway.
So y'all check out a little close up of Mr. Wilson. Like his fins are just going. The poor guy cannot even stay off the bottom. Yeah. He can't stay off the bottom.
He looks good, though.
God, dude, he.
Yeah.
He looks like one of those little Lake Fork lunkers. He's a mini lunker. He's a lunker in training.
Be a good slot fish, wouldn't
A good slot fish. Hey, dude, that might be like a truck at Lake
Yeah.
Fork. Because what's the slot, under 15?
he? I'm not even sure, but it's 15
Or 14
is
to
it-
16 or something like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. He'd
But he
probably
looks
be a
about
perfect
like
slot
that.
fish, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just feed him, 200 or 300 goldfish and then catch him and you'd be good to go. Might win you a boat or a truck.
Probably weighs, what, 4 pounds?
I don't know what he weighs right now. But we weighed him one time and he was like that was actually a trivia question.
Oh, okay.
It was like 1 something, but he's got to be a 2+ pounder now. He's an
At
easy
least.
over 2. All right, so we're gonna. So Thrift apparently just squeaked in. Alan Roberts said, "Let us know because we think Thrift's gonna fish tomorrow. We're not 100% sure." I'm really confused why we only have 157 viewers right now with what's going on in the world. People are busy. Everybody's at the grocery store. That's where
Everybody's
everybody is.
getting toilet paper right now.
Toilet paper. Dude, so I saw a funny thing, and y'all probably saw this on Facebook earlier today. It was a redneck bidet. You know what a bidet is, Todd?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know what a bidet was till I was told what a bidet was. What'd you say? Yeah. So it was a lawn chair with the bottom taken out of the lawn chair and a sprinkler underneath. Going, who
Okay.
needs toilet paper when you got a redneck bidet, right? So I guess that'll work. Whatever works. One cool thing, Stephen Leonard said he fished with you on Okeechobee and at Everstart years ago as a co-angler, and you were skipping a jig. Imagine that in the Rim Canal. And that's when this South Carolina boy went to school on skipping a jig. Truly one of the days I remember the most. What were you skipping a jig under in the rim ditch? Were you just do you skip
I
a
don't
jig
know.
so much, like even if it's an open bank, you still skip it?
I don't know what he's talking about, but it could have been lily pads or something.
Maybe under overhangs or something like
I don't
that.
know. Maybe.
That's true. Bruce Gallup is on, and he said that everyone is out to dinner for the last time in 2 weeks. So it's funny he said that because North Carolina just issued their deal this morning, but South Carolina, which your South Carolina address, South Carolina said tomorrow, right? Starting tomorrow.
I think so. I really didn't get to watch the news before, but I think it's all going to start shutting down about 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock today for North Carolina. Yeah,
And
so
it's
all the
probably-
restaurants have to close for in-house dining. The South Carolina governor came on earlier, and I thought he said they'll be open tonight for in-house dining, and then tomorrow morning they're going to have to shut down. So I guess he's got a point. Everybody's probably out watching or eating.
Probably at the grocery store right now.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna tell you, I rode by Ingalls on the way over here, and there wasn't a lot of parking spaces left. All right, so one cool thing, and one reason I was really excited about getting Todd in the studio, I'm sure you've done a lot of interviews and about techniques and what you call them under the Classic, and everybody pretty much knows that follows Bassmasters.
Oh, yeah.
It was a bladed jig, right?
Yep.
Didn't you catch some cranking?
Yeah, I caught some on a red-eye shad.
Okay,
Yeah,
on a
half
Strike King
ounce.
red eye shad. Anything else that played in your arsenal other than a bladed jig and the red eye
Caught
shad?
one on a shooter jig, just
Okay.
one under a dock, and the first dock I fished, imagine that, and then, it kind of sucks you into that for a while.
I would say, yeah.
And then I probably fished 15 more and didn't get a bite, so put that back down.
I fished like 25 in practice and never had a bite. So, and then I talked to some guys like, well, I fished 10 and had 3 bites. I guess it's all, Doc's all about where the dock is.
Location,
And that's
yeah.
it, location. So, all right. So one thing I want to talk about with Todd, which is interesting, and this is what a lot of people don't know, and that is and this is probably what we should have titled the show, Jeff.
What's
it
that?
just hit me.
Do I need to change it?
The history of the ChatterBait. The actual a lot of you
I know
people
where it started.
Where?
Ron Davis.
That's right.
Yep.
So I'm going to let Todd talk about and give me the full rundown. I want to know when it started roughly, who started it, and I know who some of the first guys to have them were, but tell us the history of the ChatterBait. Give us a rundown.
Well, I mean, I can't give you dates probably, but Ron Davis, he was the first one that come to me with this bait, And I think he had been throwing it probably for 2 or 3 years because they was winning a lot of tournaments up at Norman.
And nobody knew
what they were doing. You know, he'd say like swimming a jig, you know, but it
Well,
was the bladed jig.
Yeah. So he was not lying,
Right.
so to speak.
But he was catching them on a jig, and but it was just happened to have a blade on it. But, you know, when you first see something like that, I think he gave me a few of them to try, and I was kind of like, you know, I don't know about this. This ain't going to work. You know, it's just like a spinnerbait kind of. But really, you know, I didn't really use it a whole lot in the beginning and didn't know its full potential. But, you know, after about a year of kind of experimenting with it and trying it out, it's like, man, this thing right here really catches them. And, you know, we tried to really keep that a secret for a while. And I think it was me, probably Chris Bumgardner, and Andy
Montgomery.
And Bryan Thrift. And we was all using that bait for a good while. And I don't think until Thrift won a tournament at Okeechobee.
If I'm not mistaken, y'all viewers can correct me if I'm wrong. What's up, Mike? Forrest. They confirmed. Forrest and Scott both confirmed that Smoke is fishing in the championship round tomorrow. So he is confirmed in.
Finished 5th.
So it's funny because Brian and I have never really talked about the history of the chatterbait because he knows a lot about it, obviously too. I didn't get one till a little bit later, till after you four had one. But I believe it was 2006 Everstart on Lake Okeechobee. Now I'll tell you a backstory before that tournament. So Brian had won 2 tournaments out of the back of the boat in Everstart as a co-angler, both with a bladed jig. One, he was at Eufaula. It was kind of a shad spawn deal. He was catching them in the bank grass.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I don't know that anybody. Yeah, it was funny because he won. A lot of people don't even know that about Brian, but he won. He won one. He was running a Stratus boat at the time. And he hadn't come to his senses and jumped in a Ranger yet. But he was running a Stratus at the time, and he won the first one. And back then, if you were Ranger Cup eligible, you got a boat for winning the co-angler side along with $5,000 cash. Well, he just got $5,000 cash. And I'm like, Brian, like, you need to get you a Ranger.
Exactly.
And he said, no, I probably ain't going to win another one, you know. He won the next one he fished.
I know.
He gets another $5,000, but doesn't get a boat.
No Ranger
That's
money.
2 boats he missed. Now, it wasn't long after that, I think he ended up getting in a Ranger, but and has made a ton of money from the Ranger Cup program over the years. But if I'm not mistaken, it was right around the following year. Might have been the same year because I think he was fishing some as a non-boater, and then he jumped into a few as a boater. And I don't know if it was you or Bumgardner or who it was. It might have been Ron himself. I think it was Andy, actually. We talked about that. That put some chatterbaits in Brian's hand. He went to Okeechobee, fished the pro side of an Everstart, and blew it away. And caught them in off-colored water, which is like a no-no, like against
at Okeechobee.
Like you're supposed to fish clear water, but I guess he showed them that you don't. I think you can fish off-color water as long as it's stable off-color water. But yeah, that's so you've done. Lord have mercy. I'm sure you don't know your career earnings with a bladed jig in your hand, but you've made a lot of money with a bladed jig.
That's probably been the best money-making bait out there for me.
For you.
Yep.
For you. Well, I know a lot of your top 10s over at FOW, a lot of your high finishes. I didn't even have to look to see what you were throwing. I just assumed it was a bladed jig. I mean, you've caught them. You're one of the best shallow water power fishermen there is from the Carolinas, and you can. I gotta figure out where these interviews are. We did a lot of stuff on Media Day at the Classic. Several different media sites were coming up to me, and they were interviewing us about our picks to win the Classic. And I can't remember. I did a couple with people, and they'd give me 2 or 3 picks. Well, in most of my picks was Canterbury, and my other one was you.
Really?
And
I didn't know.
Don't act surprised.
I didn't know.
And the reason I said Todd is I said because, number one, Todd is a grinder. He's not scared to fish shallow for 5 big giant bites. The bite is not easy right now on Gunnersville.
It was.
I said, and he's proficient with a bladed jig. He likes to shallow crank. You catch him on a spinnerbait. You're old school. You catch him. And I said the guy has won more money with a bladed jig, and I felt like that's what I caught my fish on. I didn't do very well, but I felt like a bladed jig was going to be such a big player. I said, watch for Todd to do well this week. So you almost made me look like a genius.
Well, I tell you, when I got there to the lake too, it was 45 degrees.
It was cold when we got there, and it had just recently dropped.
I've never caught one on chatterbait that cold, and I kind of lose confidence after it gets under 50.
That's a good tip for all you chatterbait fishermen out there.
But there, they will bite it. It did warm up every day, which helped me tremendously because, I seen you in practice, and I wasn't getting but I got like 2 bites one day, 3 bites one day.
Yeah.
And the last day, I had like 4 bites.
You talking about on Wednesday?
Yeah.
The official practice day? Yeah.
Yeah. But, I did find that area had lots and lots of bait in there, and I had the 2 bites in that one little spot. So I figured, there's a lot more fish in there. So, how it is. If you get 1 or 2 bites in the area, you can slow down and pick it apart.
Usually grind out a few more. And that area proved to be obviously pretty darn good.
Yeah, a lot better than I thought. Even though the first day I didn't catch but 2 in there. But
okay, but and you're talking about the back of Browns.
Yeah,
where you spent most of your tournament.
Yeah.
And you said I'm getting a little message that the broadcast was being interrupted, but I haven't seen it stop on my end. Maybe
I still got a green light on my end.
Yeah, if we get a bunch of comments like that.
You saw that one? Oh,
Derek Westfall. Jeff might care, Derek. He said Tom Brady signed with the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I'm aware. Thank you.
Todd, Jeff, just so you know, Todd, he's a huge Patriots fan. I don't know what's wrong with him, but he likes winners, I guess. I don't know.
Appreciate the
winners,
reminder.
winners, same thing, right? Jeff's not. He does not listening to me. Just like Thrift doesn't listen to me. All right, so back to the chatterbait deal. Oh yeah, Scott Hammer. Thanks, Scott. Scott verified that it was dirty water actually in the monkey box. Imagine that. The monkey box is
okay.
You've got a lot of history there. But back to, so I didn't know you didn't catch all your fish in Browns. Where did you catch your other fish? I mean, what area of the lake?
Secret spot.
Oh, no. Here we go.
No,
what, like a bridge or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hank was on a secret spot, and he mopped the floor with
Hank
most of
it. Last day.
There are no secrets at this table.
Hank was on your secret spot the last day.
No, it was up in Honeycomb. I went up there.
Okay.
Which the first day, we had all that wind, and
in the back, past the bridge, in the back. Okay.
No, the bridge.
Yeah.
No, just about halfway back.
Oh, before the bridge.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Just grass area.
Yeah, just a grass hump.
Okay.
And they were loaded on it. I had 1 bite there in practice. It was a 4-pounder, and when I pulled back out on it, the first day, I wasn't really even thinking there was going to be one there, But when I pulled up there, I caught one, and then I caught another, and they were all over it. They wasn't just in one spot, and I caught what I caught, but I'd already had the big fish, the 7.9. So
you're just catching some solid,
just solid
fish there.
3.5.
Okay.
And filled my limit there, and I had another spot in there, but it had so much grass floating on it, I didn't even get to fish it. You couldn't even cast on it.
Yeah, that was a big factor, and I don't think we really talked about that with Hank as much. But what a lot of people don't realize is how much eelgrass is in Gunnersville now.
Yeah.
And with a little shift in wind, it truly would make places. Well, that's where the bladed jig became more important because it would make places
just a little easier,
unfishable.
Yeah.
I mean, did you? So as far as a lipless crankbait, a jerkbait, anything with treble hooks, you were in trouble if the wind shifted and blew eelgrass in your area, or if the coots were in there digging it up. That's just as bad, you know. But that's interesting. I didn't know you caught some in Honeycomb. So the final day where I caught my fish the first day of that tournament, and I didn't really talk about how I caught mine because nobody cared because I didn't really catch them. The second day I had 1 bass, but I caught them up towards BB Comer, and I hadn't had a bite in Honeycomb, but I feel like there's more potential from like all reds to Honeycomb and that stretch of the lake to catch a 30-pound bag. So I caught an audible. I ran to Honeycomb, and I didn't see you in there, but I fished around in there, fished the main channel, fished up and down in that general area. I hooked one great big one. I lost it. And then I caught 1 2-pounder the second day. But the reason I went down there is because I just had more faith in kind of trying to back up and punt and catch a big bag down there.
Yeah. And I never seen another competitor in there. the first
nobody caught them in there that I know of.
Well,
except
that was
you.
just one day, but I never went back to it. Only because that spot down the lake was, it was getting better. It cleared up a little bit, and the fish were biting better every day. So, you can't leave fish that are biting.
No, never leave fish to find fish, right? Yeah. Especially if they're the right quality to win a classic.
Especially after everybody sees you catching them, if you leave your spot, you're pretty much giving it up, and then they'll come in and just catch them for you while you're gone anyway.
Right. Yeah, no, that's very true. And the locals down there were... Woo! They were thick as gnats, weren't they? I mean, and most of them
were real
pretty respectful.
Of your waters. So.
I didn't have. I had some kind of just fishing in and around, but in defense of the locals, there are more boats on Guntersville than most other lakes in the South, if not any other lake in the South. Most very respectful. Some not so much, but that's part of it. We all have to deal with it. Overall, I don't think there was many complaints. And it's not. I would never say don't go out on the lake and fish, because yes, it's public water. Anybody can fish. Just be respectful of the area that Todd Auten is trying to win the Bassmaster Classic in. Be respectful of the area that Hank Cherry's trying to win the Bassmaster Classic in. So other than that, that's Scott's funny. He said, just in case we get cut off, what's the answer? So we do. Thanks for the reminder. Have a trivia question at the end of the show, just like always. Todd was nice enough, and I'll just dump him out here. So this is what we have for y'all. Todd's sponsor, Zoom, has kicked in a big old giant pile of soft plastics. Probably what we count, about 15 packs of soft plastics in there, all kinds of different baits, assorted colors. For the winner, the trivia question tonight, that we'll ship that straight out to. So,
and another thing,
what's up?
We're cross-posting on
Titan,
Tungsten, Basscasters,
a bunch of pages.
Matt's page, Thrift's page, Topwater Blow-Ups. If you want to comment, if you want to get in the trivia, answer trivia, you have to do it on the LTF page so we can see the comment.
Yeah, and I'm glad he said that, and I'm gonna reemphasize that. Last week when we had a show with Hank, I get home and I pull up my page, and there's 150 comments on my page, and Thrift's page there's 100. Guys, you got to understand that when we're cross-posted on these other pages, most of you know this, but if you want to engage with the show, ask Todd a question, ask any of us a question, you got to be on the Let's Talk Fish page. If you want to be eligible for the trivia giveaway, you also have to be on the Let's Talk Fish Facebook page and watching it through that channel in order to engage with us. Okay, so keep that in mind, because I am seeing answers to the trivia question on all those pages too, which we don't even see those because the only page that we're watching is the LTF page. Scott Fell want to know if there's any big dead ringers in that box.
No, I don't think I got any.
Don't know if there's any big dead ringers. I'm seeing.
I'll bring some next time if he ever has me back.
2 packs of Shiner Stash.
Oh, I got some Shiner Stash beef jerky to throw in for the giveaway. So,
okay,
what's better than 15 packs of soft plastics and some Shiner Stash beef jerky?
Nothing.
Nothing. Todd said nothing. All right, guys, let us know if you got any questions for Todd. If you want any waypoints on Lake Wylie, he could hook you up there. Yeah, right. They want to know if you fished. Roger Love asked if you fished in Mud Creek at all during practice. Did you sample mud?
Never went in there. It has a good name, though. I like that.
Yeah. I figured that would fit you well. Clint Davis actually caught all his fish in mud. Well, I don't know about all of them, but I know he caught his 20 pounds the first day in mud. And then it kind of died off for him a little bit. But
I was really wanting to go in there and practice, and I don't know. I never made it in there. This lake's so big, and I had some dock bites actually in practice, and I thought really that was going to come into play more so.
The dock deal?
Yeah, then the grass, and then it just didn't pan out.
Well, it was kind of goofy. It was kind of overcast, and just the conditions weren't real conducive to dock fishing. Yeah. So I know there was a few fish caught off docks. I think Hank caught 1 or 2 or 3 maybe of his weigh-in fish off docks, but overall just wasn't a big factor. So, all right, again, guys, if you're watching on another page and you want to engage and you want to ask a question, be sure to jump over on the LTF page. That's the only feed that we're following. Real quick, how long have you been with Ranger Boats?
Since 97, I think.
97. Okay, so...
And I was in one before that, so...
You were running one before that.
Yep.
So you've seen... Boy, let's see, 97, what was that? That was
97 or 98, it's been a while.
What model boat was that 20-footer in 97? Or
like
was it a 20-footer?
487.
487 V?
VS.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Those were dang nice boats.
Yeah.
Really nice boats.
Had to set back on it and everything.
And you've always, you've always run Mercury, hadn't you?
Yeah, there might have been a year there. I had to get out for a minute, but I come right back to them.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. All right, so here's a question from Jason McCall. Wants to know, what's your take on how Wylie has changed the last few years? And that's a great question. I wouldn't just say the last few years. I'd say the last 15 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's made a big transition, but water clearing up a lot, et cetera, et cetera. Jason wants to know.
Well, you know, I think that's a big part of it. You know, the lake's cleaned up a lot. Stays a lot clearer. They won't let the water stay up high for a while, you know, and that makes a lot of difference on the bank fish, you know, I think. And, you know, there's some alewives in there now, and
Spotted bass, too.
Spotted bass. I caught a smallmouth, the first one ever on Wylie the other day.
Really?
Yep.
Now, I've heard of people
and it was a
catching
13-incher, you know.
The little guy.
Little guy.
Okay.
And I just think, you know, that dirtier water holds that bait up shallow for, you know, and make it easier to catch those fish. But
yeah.
They just, you know, pump it through now, and it clears up, and these fish pull right back out, and they get harder to catch. But there's still some good fish in there. I mean, it's like there was several 20-pound bags this past weekend down there.
Oh, okay. So that is a big step up, because there was a few years, and I think we can all agree that lakes fisheries cycle.
Yeah.
You know, they go up, they go down. I've never seen one go down and not ever come back.
Right.
Unless it was drained or something.
I mean, I
crazy.
can remember the days of 28-pound bags, 5 fish on
Yeah.
Wylie. You know, if you didn't have 20 pounds, you didn't even need to weigh in. And that's probably what he's talking about there. But
it got bad for a lot of years. It was like 13, 14 pounds was winning a lot of stuff. Not for a lot of years, but
the last few, it's gotten a little better, I think.
Yeah.
It's going to come back, I think.
Well, and any time, and it seems like the last few springs have been a lot of water.
Yep.
You know, and anytime you get high, dirty water, it gives that fry, it gives those fish more places to spawn.
Yep.
It gives the fry more places to hide, and they have a higher success rate, a survival success rate. I mean, I
think we had a real good spawn last year.
Because,
I mean, you catch a lot of small fish, and that's probably from last year or the year before, having a real good spawn.
Preston, James Loy wants to know how often you fish Lake Norman. You fish Lake Norman a lot, don't you?
No, really I don't. It's usually only when a tournament's up there. I might go up there and practice a couple days or just go fishing.
So you think 10 or 12 times a year, maybe, something like that?
Yeah, maybe 10.
That's about how much I fish Norman a year, and I don't fish unless I'm fishing tournaments.
Well,
I don't hardly ever I know they Thrift and Wheeler.
I don't fish Wylie much either. I mean, I fished the other day, and that was the first time in a month, I think.
Okay.
So,
and was it good?
Yeah, we fished a little tournament. I think we had 16 pounds.
Okay.
But
you and New been fishing a little bit together down there over the past couple of years, hadn't you?
Well, we hadn't fished together since he got, big time, but...
I hope New's watching. I don't know if he's on here.
Yeah, he don't call me no more. What's up with that?
Well, if you'd have won the Classic, he might start calling your phone again.
Exactly.
No, I'm kidding. He'll be in the Classic next year.
I know. He's already in.
He told me if I was there, which I still had to qualify. We both had to qualify. That we were fishing for second. He just wanted us to know that. He did tell me that.
Well,
and I said, well, I appreciate that. I'll keep an eye out for Mr. New. All right, so let's see. Oh, this is a good question from Jeff Johnson, and I should have wrote this in my notes. Wrote. Was that in proper English, Jeff?
I didn't even. I'm not even.
I should have wrote this in my notes. I should have written this in my notes.
Whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Thrift wouldn't know, so I
write it. Thrift say write it.
I had to write it. I should have written this in my notes. Yeah, in honor of Thrift, I should have written this in my notes. But I hope he catches. So if nobody has anything else to do tomorrow, which nobody does, apparently everybody's got a lot to do tonight. 150 viewers. We're losing viewers actually. Is that because of you?
They're probably going. Well, they already had their last meal. I don't know what they're doing.
Their last meal. It's not their last meal.
They had to
Jeff.
drive to South Carolina to eat.
Yeah, and that may be because we announced that everybody got off the show and they took off to South Carolina so they could still
Maybe
go
so.
out to dinner with the family one last time before everything shuts down. So is it true that you started the toad on the back of the Buzzbait deal? Any tricks? That's something that a lot of people don't realize, but that originated, and people can. My wife told me it was written, by the way, if anybody's curious. She corrected me.
sure?
Yeah, it's 100% written.
I think it's righted.
If Emily said it was written, it's written. I promise you.
Righted sounds better.
Brian
Probably
New's on.
Google
Brian
that.
New just got on. Should we talk about what we said? No, we won't even. We won't bring it up. New, you can watch the show back.
Yeah.
Todd had some kind words to say about you earlier. So he said.
He said he never
He said, "Any
that.
tricks? Do you have any tricks about throwing a toad on a buzzbait?" And also, they want to know why. It said, "Why was he throwing his chatterbait on mono in the classic?"
Good question.
Which is a good question too. You know, start with the buzzbait and the toad deal.
Well, I kind of come up with that deal. I don't know. I guess I just thought about it. A big fish bait is a buzzbait and a toad. And, I said, well, if I could put those two together, that might be a deal. So I just started experimenting with that in my mother-in-law's swimming pool and found I had to get like a real light buzzbait to slide it over the head of it, and it would actually run straight. Some buzzbaits it would run on its side, this and that, but I just experimented around with that, and it seemed like if you slid it over the head, you could skip it like a jig or anything else under a dock. So that's the main reason I did that.
And a lot of people don't realize that, but yes,
Yeah.
the first guys that I ever saw fish a toad on a buzzbait was Todd Auten, Chris Bumgardner, a couple guys from around the Lake Wylie area, and it snowballed. Y'all went out and started winning some money on some larger events.
Yeah.
Once again, you stuck something like that in Thrift's hands, and then he starts gaining all kinds of notoriety with it, and then everybody and their brothers throwing it now. Wheeler learned it from us, Carolina guys,
Yep.
and he has his own signature buzzbait now, along with Watson's got his own signature buzzbait now that are made for holding a toad
Yep.
or a soft plastic trailer.
Zorro had one for a while.
So which one do you use? Do you use a homemade, or is there a specific one that you like out there?
Friend of mine, Sonny Beam, he's old timer around Lake Wylie. He still makes some.
Okay,
And,
Sunny Beam.
Yeah, and he pours them, and I'll take him the old ones back, and he'll just reuse those hooks, because the hooks in there are like a eagle claw hook that you can't get anymore.
So what's special about that hook? Why do you like that hook so much?
Well, most hooks are like a round bend, and this one's kind of like the old spinnerbait hooks. It comes back and it's flat
Yep.
on the top,
Okay.
and I just feel like I hook up better with that hook.
And when you get them, they probably can't get off that one as easy.
Exactly.
Okay, interesting. There's some jig hooks that I like. I like that O'Shaughnessy hook a lot.
Yep.
And I feel like does it gap them like a big old 5/0 jig flipping hook? No. Do you hook them quicker? Maybe not. But when you stick them, they're pinned.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because of the bend that the hook has in it. So that's what you're saying with the
Yeah,
eagle claw
and
hook.
it has a big barb, and I
Okay.
think the big barb is a key to holding those fish on, because
Yeah.
when they come up to sling it, they got a lot of leverage there, and if they don't have a big barb in there, that thing just flop right out.
Yeah, that's a good tip. So anybody that likes to fish a buzzbait toad combo, that's a pretty good tip for you there. So back to the chatterbait, because I didn't even know this. Why were you fishing your chatterbait on mono at the Classic? And do you use a glass rod?
No.
Okay, I know.
That's why.
Well, I know Brett Height and a lot of those guys are big on glass
Yeah.
rods with a bladed jig, but
If I was using a glass rod, I would be throwing fluoro.
Okay.
But with the graphite rod, it's pretty stiff. It's medium heavy.
what was your setup? Tell us your.
It's a
your-
medium medium heavy. It's a 715 Douglas Matrix rod.
What's a 715?
It's like a 7-1 rod with the 5 power. you know.
Okay, 5 power.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
And, I'm throwing it with a Daiwa Tatula 6.3-1 and a 20-pound Bass Pro Shop mono. I mean, it's the cheapest line you can buy. And with that little bit of stretch, I think, helps me bury that hook deep.
Okay.
Well, it's like they get it deeper.
So you're counteracting the rod. So it's just
Yeah.
like you said, that if you use a glass rod, you want a no stretch line. If you use a stiffer rod, you want a line that'll stretch.
Exactly.
So I guess it's personal preference when it comes to which way you want to go with that. Because that's what they say with the glass rod, is that it allows the fish to eat the bait better. But mono would obviously allow a fish to get it
and
better too.
especially, this time of year when the water was colder, I was barely cranking that thing. I was trying to slow it down to get.
And one thing I noticed is all the every fish I weighed in the first day was on a bladed jig, and I hooked one like behind his eye. I hooked one underneath his mouth. I don't never do that with a chatterbait.
Really?
And when I would have to feed it to him, like I'd be whining it, and I'd kind of change my cadence, and you'd feel one kind of nip it, and then you'd slow it down and start it back speed, and you'd feel him nip it, and then he'd load up on it.
Yeah.
And I had a few that choked it, but then I had some that were I don't know why they were acting like that, but did you really have to kind of feed it to him, so to speak?
Yeah, a little bit. Those first 2 days.
The first 2 days, yeah.
But
Got better.
it got better.
Okay.
They'd eat it better. But also too, it seemed like, I got a lot more bites the last day. And I think a lot of smaller fish were biting it too, so they would miss the bait, I think. But you could throw it back in there and catch it.
Did you catch anything else on your bladed jigs other than largemouth?
No, I didn't.
Never caught any mudfish or pickerel or white bass or anything like that? I think a lot of those bites were white bass, because I could pick up a trap in some areas and I could catch a couple white bass, and they were like 2-pounders. They were big fat ones, And I think some of those, especially if you're throwing white or something, I think some of those little nips and stuff were white. But maybe not where you were fishing, but there were definitely some where I was fishing.
I was throwing that red crawl color, or fire crawl they call it.
Yeah, you talking about the real bright one?
Yeah,
yeah. So you weren't throwing. There's a red one that's more of like a Texas red, a deeper red.
Yeah,
and then there's the fire crawl, which has like orange in it.
That's the one I was throwing.
Okay. Now what was the watercolor in the back of Brown's there?
Well, the first day it was like chocolate milk. I mean, it was so dirty you couldn't see, an inch deep. And then after the wind shifted the second day to more north, it pushed all that dirtier water back, and it cleared up my area a little bit. But you still only had like 6-8 inches of visibility, down.
Yeah.
So, but I picked up different colors. White and chartreuse. I've tried black and blue. I've tried green pumpkin. And I think I caught maybe one on a green pumpkin. Everything else come on that fire crawl.
Okay, so it was funny for me in practice on Wednesday, the day that I felt like they bit a little bit.
Yeah.
I had 9 or 10 bites, and every single one of them was on white. During the tournament, never caught one on white. Everything was on green pumpkin. And I threw the red a little bit, but my watercolor was starting to clean up, and maybe that's why I caught them on green pumpkin. And then it ended up getting dirty, and I think that's why I didn't catch them there.
We had all that rain the night before, and I don't know. I hadn't really done that good on that color, except for usually this time of year.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird, but it seems like springtime they like it red.
No, I agree, and they want to know. Alan Roberts wants to know what trailer and what color on your bladed jig.
I had a Z Crawl Junior, and it was Cajun Crawl.
Cajun, is that red?
It's kind of it looks kind of green pumpkin with orange flake. That's what it looks like.
Okay, so complemented that thing nicely, yeah, I bet.
It did, and it is I think it's a special run color, because I actually went and bought those at the tackle store at Rusty Hooks before I left for the Classic. And, I'd never seen that color. I was like, man, this would look good on the back of that. So I picked them up there.
Now, the Z-Crawl Junior, it's so why do you like the Z-Crawl? Because I'm curious, because I've thrown, in the past, I used to throw a ton of speed crawls on the back of my bladed jigs.
I throw speed crawls, Z-Crawl Junior, sometimes the Senior. I'll cut it down a little bit, or I'll put a fluke on there. And I like the fluke better when I'm around smallmouth. I like it better in the fall when they're feeding more on bait fish, it seems like.
Yep.
But the reason I put, the Z-Crawl Junior on there was that, you know, I was open water fishing. I didn't have to skip it. Now, if I'm skipping it, I'll put that speed crawl on there usually.
Okay. That's interesting. So if you're skipping it, you like the speed crawl. Fishing open water, you like the Z Crawl Junior.
Yep. I think mine went down, but I'll come back up.
Oh, yeah. He'll come back up. Yep, there you are. I think.
All right.
Maybe. We'll see. It's funny. Carrie Johnson and Anita Wood said they're both watching their husbands watching our podcast.
I've been reading that.
Thanks, Carrie and Anita, for letting your husbands watch our podcast. We do appreciate it. We have some ladies on the show every once in a while. We had Jacqueline. Actually, we did a wives show back at Christmas where we all had our ugly sweaters on. That was a fun show. Scott was talking about the Scott Fell said the Z Crawl has massive action. So does it actually have more action than the speed crawl?
I think so, yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit more compact, isn't it?
Well, with the speed crawls more compact, I think, because the claws come out a good ways, you know.
Okay.
But, you know, when you're skipping with the Z Crawl Junior, a lot of times the tail will come back and get on the hook.
Yep.
And that's one reason I will use the speed crawl more for that, for skipping around docks and stuff. But
okay. Tony Lawson said all these people lately paying outrageous prices on these red crawl chatterbaits. So apparently y'all set the world on fire, because I know I think Lester and a couple other guys caught them on actually Clint Davis caught some on a red. He didn't catch them on the fire crawl. He caught them on the other red one.
It's like a spring crawl or something.
Yeah, it's like a duller red. It's red, but it's like a duller red. And but yeah, that's funny, because I did see that there was like a really high demand for those bright red bladed jigs. And this, he said, just put on a fire crawl skirt and paint your head. Yeah, that's what Tony said.
But that skirt material is kind of hard to get too. I can tell you that.
The really bright stuff.
Yeah, but I was like, man, I kind of shot myself in the foot by telling that, but because I went out and tried to buy some, you know, for the next tournament for Chick, and I was like, man, I couldn't find them jackhammers anywhere in that color. You know, I know I can paint them and make something work, but actually a friend of mine ended up having a couple, and I was like, man, you're going to have to let me borrow those. He said, but they're going for $100 on eBay. And I was like,
$100?
That's what he said, but I think the price come down a little bit.
People are hoarding hand sanitizer. We should have hoarded red chatterbaits or red
jackhammers.
Thank you, the jackhammers. Yes. All right. Here's a great question from Daniel, and I'm gonna let you. We attack questions all the time, Todd. So I'm gonna pass this one over to you, and this is right in your wheelhouse. So, swim jig, bladed jig, spinner baits. He said they're all very similar to me. He said, when do you fish one over the other, and why? When do you pick a swim jig, bladed jig, and or a spinner bait?
Well, you know, I'll throw the bladed jig more so in dirtier water, and it seems like the cleaner water, I'll throw a spinner bait or, you know, swim a jig. But I like swimming a jig more, I don't know, it seems like when the fish are more active, you know, maybe when the water's just a little bit warmer, probably 60 or above or something like that. But, I mean, all of them catch big fish, and rule of thumb is have one tied on of every one of them every time you go. So you just experiment and try them. I mean, it's trial and error, you know. Yeah,
it is, and it's a confidence thing too. And you know, a bladed jig is, to me, a bladed jig bite is a little bit different than a swim jig and a spinnerbait bite. Yeah, like the way that they actually bite it and the feel. When you're swimming that jig, they'll come at you, and you don't really feel them bite it. So it's a little bit harder to feel the bite with swimming a jig. And the chatterbait's, you know, the best of both worlds, I think. And you can skip it real good. You know, you can't skip the spinnerbait real good. Unless you're throwing like a single spin or something. But, you know, it's just your preference and your confidence bait. You know, mine's a chatterbait. Some people's spinnerbaits, but... Yeah, and the spinnerbait seems like it's making kind of a comeback. I mean, it's always caught fish, but it seems like when the chatterbait craze hit in the late 2007, 8, 9 thereabouts, it seems like the spinnerbait just kind of disappeared for a little bit. But then, if you remember, a few years ago, we had a tournament, FLW tour event at Lake Cumberland, and it was like the craziest spinnerbait bite I've ever seen in my life. I don't know if you fished that one. I can't remember who won that one. not the one Scott Martin won. It was the next year, and I can't remember who won
I fished the one Scott won,
Oh,
but I didn't fish the next year.
Okay, so that next year, the water was super high, and I mean you were catching it was stained a lot of places, and you know how those those Ozark type lakes when they get muddy and they have all three species and it's in the springtime they just get stupid. I mean all the fish just rush the bank and you can catch them anywhere. That's how a lot of the lakes around our area now. I mean we went out to Moss Lake this past Sunday and just fished for fun. The whole lake's dirty. You could literally drop the boat in the water, put the trolling motor down, pick up a chatterbait, spinnerbait, square bill, whatever your confidence bait is, and go down the bank. And you're not going to catch one every 5 feet, but you're going to get consistent bites. Mostly spotted bass, but there's some big largemouth biting out there too. And when the lake gets high and dirty in the springtime, right before those fish spawn, and that water is anywhere from 52 to 59 degrees. I mean, hold on, because they're going to be rushing the bank to eat.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Rick Lund last year won it. I mean, that on the spinnerbait, that trickster spinnerbait.
That's right, down in Florida.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, it does play. Still.
I'd forgotten about that. So yeah.
But I think it's watercolor a lot of times. I like the change, because I can't get them to hit that chatterbait as good in clear water as I can in dirty water.
Yeah, and something I used to do, and I don't know, I'm sure you've done this before. You've been fishing a bladed jig a lot longer than I have, but I used to actually take my skirt and everything off, and I'd take a 1/4 ounce chatterbait head, and I'd put a fluke, a fluke or a small swim bait, but like a super fluke junior or something on there. And Lucker Hunt's got the Descend Minnow now, or the swim, but not the swim bento, but the regular bento, which is just a fork tail soft plastic, and put it on the back of a bladed jig and fish it like on bridge pilings and things like that.
It's good for schooling fish.
It is. It is really good. So it's kind of like a mix between a scrounger and just a single swim bait. So it's a little bit more subtle than a scrounger, but not as subtle as a single swim bait. But yeah, I've caught a lot of fish doing that. So here's a question. Yes, Thrift won the other one after Scott. How could I forget that? Thrift won that one. Yeah, I actually because he came. This is how I forgot, because he showed up and only practiced for like 2 days, and he was calling me and complaining about how he wasn't getting any bites and he just wasn't going to do any good in the tournament. And then he won. He won. So, which I mean, he found an area and a technique, and he ended up catching a lot of big smallmouth that tournament. I remember that. Chris Evans got a good question for you, Todd. In Texas, right now, they're already starting to move towards the post-spawn period in parts of Texas. And if you watch, Thrift and them at Lake Fork, there's a lot of they're probably more peak spawn than they are anything. But moving towards the post-spawn, do you change your trailer style up on like your chatterbaits and your swim jigs or whatever from like your crawl and your stuff that's got more of a crawl tail action to more of a paddle tail or a single swim bait to imitate, I'm assuming he's like shad.
I mean, it's shad spawn time usually. I'll put white stuff on. Probably go with the fluke more. Sometimes on the back of it, or sometimes a crawl if I want to slow it down, And if because a fluke's got a totally different.
It's a lot more subtle. It's more of a shimmy, right?
Yeah, but it falls a lot faster. So it depends. Kind of like if you're trying to keep it up in the water column, or if you're fishing a little deeper, But
so that's a good tip. The things that have more action tend to rise a little bit more.
Yeah.
And if you want to fish it because I know guys, and you've probably done it, have fished big chatterbaits out there on ledge lakes in Kentucky and Chickamauga and things like that in Tennessee River. If you want to keep it down there deep, you're going to go to more like the fluke style trailers and things.
Something that don't have much action on it,
So it doesn't rise up.
Right.
Yep. So that's a good tip.
That's why they use. That scrounger with that Castaic bait they put on there. It's kind of like a fluke type bait.
I can't remember what that thing. Yeah, I've got a bunch of them, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
But they use that a lot because it'll stay down.
It's just got like a needle
bait,
tail,
but it's just got a
needle
little
tail.
Straight tail. That's about the size of a small pencil or something.
Yep. They okay. So. I'm getting a bunch of crap for forgetting that Thrift won that tournament because he's our partner / co-host. The reason I forgot Thrift won that tournament is because he's won so many flipping tournaments. I can't keep up with all the ones. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So, all right, thanks, Preston. We and thank you to Todd for giving all the good tips. He's giving out some goods tonight about fishing a bladed jig. So, if anybody wants some tips on fishing a bladed jig, they'll be watching this show back over. We probably do need to add something in our topic there, talking about bladed jig secrets or something like that.
We'll do that when we upload it to YouTube.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, no, thanks a lot. And yeah, Chris, you're welcome, man. So any more questions, y'all let us know. Be sure to stay on to the end of the show because we got a trivia giveaway. Got a big old box of Zoom plastics coming from Todd's Zoom sponsor. And we also have, what else did we give? Oh, Shiner Stash beef jerky. Got some beef jerky headed towards y'all. Couple hand-picked flavors. I did see Swin on here, who's the owner of Shiner Stash, say that they were going to throw in a special test run of some kind of pickled meat sticks or something. You didn't see that on there? Okay, well he dropped it in the feed, but anyway, so all right, so back let's give them an update on kind of where we stand with bass right now, because a lot of people, I did get a lot of questions, and some people were were asking me earlier today about, when are y'all going to be back on the road? When are you going to be we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah,
so as of right now, and we got an email today from Bass, and basically, and Bass has been great in this whole ordeal about keeping us well informed of the situation and what's going on. And the answer to everybody's question is we don't really know. We know that we'll have an update. I think they said by next Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, and
maybe.
The thing is, they don't want to cancel anything until they have to.
That's right. So they're going to wait until the last minute.
Yeah.
And we all are in agreement with that, because we don't want them to cancel anything unless they absolutely have to either.
We want to fish, but we're pretty isolated fishing anyway. So
yeah, the biggest thing that people don't see is the logistics that go in behind one of these tournaments, and Jeff knows what I'm talking about because Jeff has run tournaments before, and a Bassmaster Elite tournament is there's a lot of people. There's a lot of work behind the scenes. There's a lot of sponsors. There's a lot of fans. There's just too many high risk situations that we would be put in. And I'm not talking about the anglers. I'm talking about the whole organization and the fans as a whole. With everything that's happened, it's kind of a state by state deal right now. So they're having to analyze each site, each situation in each state, that city, whatever may be going on at that particular location, and make a decision from there. But they're going to wait to the last minute to let us know about Eufaula, which we're supposed to leave, I think, on the 28th.
Yeah.
To start practice on the next day or two down in Eufaula, Alabama, and they'll let us know next week. And as soon as we know, y'all will know. I can tell you this much: unless we're all quarantined at our house, Thrift will be back, I believe, and we should have a show and an update on Thrift's latest happenings, because he's had 3 tournaments, I believe, and no shows. Yeah. So I might just let him host, and I'll take a break.
Been a
next
good
week.
month.
Yeah, no,
let him do the next 3.
So Thrift had I know he had a tough tournament at Okeechobee. He had a phenomenal second place finish at Eufaula, and now he's in another top 10 fishing tomorrow down at Lake Fork. So he'll have a lot to chat about. Steven wants to know if you can turn Todd's mic up a little bit.
Mike could get a little closer.
Todd talks soft. He's kind of like Hank. He's got a soft tone. I think what it is I'm so loud that Jeff
everybody sounds.
Jeff probably has all our guest mic.
Well,
sound.
I fixed the wires. They were all messed up.
Okay.
I was turning people. It was the wrong people. I fixed them.
So Derek said, I don't see why you couldn't cancel the weigh-in and do the anglers meeting by conference call and go ahead with the tournaments. In a roundabout way, you can, Derek. But I think what happened with the Chickamauga event, and I can't verify this, but Bass had already prepared to fish. We had got messages and emails that said, look, the pre-tournament meeting was canceled, the pre-tournament dinner was canceled, the expo was going to be on a really strict fan base, whatever you want to call it, and they were doing everything in their power for us to still fish. Because from the digital world, they could still do their show. They could still do the Bass Live because it's remote studio. And all that was still going to take place. But I think that with there being a couple confirmed cases and the way things started escalating so quickly, especially in the eastern part of Tennessee, things started shutting down a lot quicker than they anticipated. And I don't know if it was the Tennessee State the actual government or what it may have been the city of city of Chattanooga. We don't know, or Dayton, but there was some other variables that played into that, because 2 days later, after Bass told us get ready to fish, they said, guys, we have to postpone the event. So there were some other things that took place that we don't have all the answers. We just know that it was in the best interest of all the anglers and
sponsors
and
too. It's really not fair to them.
That's right. That's right. A lot of sponsors, they plan these events out very, very strategically, and if they don't get, if a sponsor is paying to have advertisement through one of our tournaments, and we don't get the exposure that we normally would in any other event, then it's not fair to those guys either. So there's a lot of different reasons that these events can be postponed, and you don't see them all. It's not just as easy to go out there and fish a Bassmaster Elite tournament as opposed to doing it the right way and the way that's fair to everybody. So, all right, here we go. Back to questions. What time we got, Jeff? I haven't even looked.
7:56.
All right, we got a few minutes. From Roger Love, here's another question, Matt or Todd, and I'm going to direct it to Todd because I answer questions all the time. So, how long do you fish a bait or color of a bait before changing to something different? So let's just say in practice and or tournament situation, how long?
Well, if I ain't got a bite on it in probably 2 or 3 hours, of practice, I'm changing something,
It's
and
2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the fish might not just be biting, so
right.
I'll give it a fair chance, but at the end of the day, I probably got a pile about this big, on my deck of my boat.
Yep.
Where I went through baits and this and that, but I'll give it a fair chance, and usually I'll have every color tied on anyway, and I'll just keep rotating, and trying this and that. But the color of the water dictates a lot of times the color, I think. The clear water. You want like a green pumpkin, and sometimes white works good in the shad spawn. So,
and we all usually have it narrowed down. If it's dirty water or clear water, we'll have it narrowed down to at least 2 or 3 colors.
Yeah.
Not going through a dozen colors or getting, thinking too far out the box. And we all have confidence colors too.
Yeah.
But
I'd be usually using like 3 different colors, basically.
Yep. And that's the same for me with a bladed jig, a spinnerbait.
Yep.
Swim jig, there's only 3 or 4 different colors that I really keep in my boxes.
That's it.
And, you got your black and blues, your natural colors like your browns and green pumpkins, and you want something white. And then, obviously, you want red. Everybody wants red.
You want fire crawl now.
Fire crawl. Everybody wants fire crawl. So, let's see. Derek Westfall said, would y'all be open to finishing the season in the fall?
That'd be fine with me.
It's not really whether we're open to it or not. It's whether if that's when they tell us we're fishing, that's when we're fishing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I'd rather be deer hunting, but I'd rather be fishing than deer hunting. Sorry, I said that backwards.
I miss tournaments in the fall. I do.
Yeah. Well, that's true. A lot of guys, and you're not a deer hunter, but a lot of guys are big fans of fall fishing, and some guys have always said they wanted a season that had events in all 4 seasons of the year.
I'd like to have one event per month would be
one event per month. So 12 events, 1 per month. Be interesting, and you still have plenty of time. You got
plenty of time at home.
Yep.
Just 1 week of.
The only issue I could see with that is when you did have a postponement or a reschedule, that it would overlap into the following year, and then you could have some issues.
Probably do like a 10 and 2 makeup dates. Probably squeeze that in without a problem.
Possibly. Until a crisis like this hits, and we might have to have 3 or 4 makeup dates. So
you could drop events too. If you had to.
Yep. Ernie Wallace wants to know if we're looking forward to the Santee Cooper tournament. We're going to keep our fingers crossed, knock on wood, that we will be at Santee for sure. I'm actually a little bit, I'll be lying if I said I feel like we're going to be fishing Eufaula. I just don't know if we're going to be fishing Eufaula the way things are headed. But time will tell.
Yeah, I kind of don't think we'll be fishing the next 2.
The next 2, you think Santee also. So that'll be interesting. And like I said, we're going to do whatever we're told. In the meantime, Bass is doing everything in their power, I'll promise you, to hold these events. And they know it's our livelihood, and they know that we're going to fish these events. And like Todd said, or somebody mentioned earlier, we may be fishing in September and October this year. Who knows? But they're going to try to get them in as quick as they can for everybody's sake. But we'll go where they tell us when they tell us, right?
Yep.
All right. Chris Shoemaker said Todd's an awesome guest, and he said he wants to see you. He wants to see you back when smoke's in the house. I don't know if that's a crack on me or if they just want. Sure. No, but all right. So let's talk about our trivia question. And
I was going to tell you it's 8 o'clock.
You're going to tell me it's 8 o'clock. Well, you said 7:56 earlier. So the trivia question tonight.
You're not very good at math, so I just want to make sure.
I was guessing. The trivia question tonight. We have big old box.
You only missed last week's trivia question by 365 days.
Is it? Shut up, Jeff.
Days.
Not everybody knows that, Jeff. Shut up, Jeff. We have a big box of Zoom products from Todd's sponsor Zoom, and we also have a couple packs.
15 packs. Math. 18.
Whatever. We have a couple packs of Shiner Stash beef jerky coming toward the winner's way also. Before I give the answer away, let me ask the question.
Show me the answer.
Oh, you don't know the answer?
I don't even know the
I
question.
forgot the question.
That's the answer. Let me write that where you can read it.
I was about to say.
All right.
Are we sure this is right?
Somebody's done answered it.
Our answer is always right.
Nobody. Well, we always get random answers before we ask the trivia question.
Okay.
So Todd doesn't get the opportunity to watch the show a lot, but people will just start throwing numbers and names out there.
Well, they might get lucky. Yeah.
They're not going to get this one. Not telling you, Matt Newman. I'm not telling you what the answer is. All right. He said Scott Fell said throw in some toilet paper. Oh, I have to give a shout out to Scott, who's a veteran and a fan of the show. So a couple weeks ago, Scott sent us a little box, and when they were deployed, it was something they gave them for good luck. And forgive me, Scott, I can't remember exactly who gave y'all these. It might have been somebody in the military, but it was little tiny American flags that were folded up in little triangles. And he sent me a box of those. He told me to give you one, and actually have them in my truck. So before you leave, let me give you one. And they're just for good luck, to take on the boat. I've got one in my console of the boat.
I need all the luck I can get.
And you're fishing pretty good as of late. Maybe I need to keep your flag and put it with mine. Maybe the more that I have in my boat, the better I'll do. No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't take your flag,
too much
Todd.
luck.
But no, shout out to Scott for that, because that was a pretty cool gesture. And thanks again, Scott, for those flags, man. That was really cool. And thank you for your service also. All right, here we go. Trivia. Stephen, they think they can trick me. I don't know if they ask me enough. They might trick me. He said, "What are you writing? What are you writing?" I'm writing words and numbers on the paper. Oh, that was a hint right there, wasn't it? All right, this is a two-part question. Hey, once again, guys, if you're watching on another page, if you're watching over on my page, if you're watching on Bryan Thrift's page, if you're watching on Basscaster's page, if you're watching on the Titan Tungsten page, if you're watching on Jeff Walsh's page, which I doubt anybody is, but there might be one person, make sure
top water blow-ups also.
But make sure you come over to the Let's Talk Fish page, at least for the trivia question, because you're not going to be eligible and you're not going to win if you're not answering on the LTF feed. That's the only feed that we watch. It's the only feed we pay attention to. That's the only feed that we respond to. So we'll jump back on a question here in a second after I ask the trivia question, because it's going to take them a minute to get it. Oh, Martine, thank you. Thank you very much. We got to do something. So, Todd, we started a tradition last week. What better way to continue it than with second place from the 2020 Bassmaster Classic? And every guest in the studio from here on out has to sign the wall.
The wall.
So, Hank's already signed it. And I'm going to get you to do the honors. There's your marker.
Right now?
Yeah, right now. Jump up there and sign it. I'll ask the trivia question while you're doing that.
I don't want to get on top of Hank's.
No, don't write over Hank.
You can sign
you can sign anywhere on the. Don't sign on the fish, but you can sign anywhere on the whole wall. Actually, you can sign anywhere. You can sign on the fish. We don't care. Perfect. All right, here we go. Here's a trivia question. It's a two-part answer, guys. I need two answers together in one comment. So, all right, what is Todd's largest bass he's ever caught and weighed in professional level competition? So it had to be a pro level tournament. I'll go ahead and give you a hint because it's going to be a tough question.
Oh my gosh!
It's got. Come on, Jeff. You gotta have both your answers in one comment. Okay, so it's a 2-part question. I need the weight of his largest bass Todd's ever weighed in tour level competition, professional pro level competition, and what body of water it was on. Now, the hint I'm going to give you is the body of water. The body of water was located in the Carolinas. Okay, that's all I'm going to tell you. The body of water was in the Carolinas, so I need the name of the lake that the fish came from, and I need the weight in pounds and ounces. Ready, set, go. All right. Now, while they're doing that, you know the answers, Jeff. So you can. And Jeff's in charge of the feed. He's going to call the winner. I don't want any complaints about mine was submitted first because we could only see what comes through our feed first. Thanks, Mark Robertson. He said my sweatshirt's awesome. It's bright, tell you that much. But it does say lose fishing right there, lose fishing team. All right. Would you, let's see, I'm trying to find another question that we hadn't addressed yet. We've done pretty good at not addressing questions. Todd's been on top of
them.
He's been crushing the answers. Okay, here we go.
Oh.
Of all the
There's some close
setups,
ones.
Justin Johnson has a question for you, Todd. Of all the setups that you have in your boat on any given day, on any tournament, I've modified his question a little bit if you can't tell. What is your must-have setup? Give us the rod, reel, bait that's always on your boat deck. Always on your boat deck. So your number one
Rod,
setup.
reel, bait. I guess it's just, a shooter jig is always tied on.
Shoot, what color?
It's usually crawdad.
Okay, good old crawdad.
Yeah, with the green pumpkin speed crawl. 20,
Half ounce.
20-pound line. Same rod I use for chatterbait. It's a 715
Okay.
Douglas Matrix rod.
Okay.
And by the way, they're not a sponsor, but I like the rods, real good rods, and Tatula 6-3-1 reel.
Okay. So you used Iowa reels. I didn't know that. Gotcha.
And I've tried that same setup with a lot of rods. I'll throw even my Buzzbait on that same rod. It's so when I pick up the rod, you're not, it's got the same feel and everything as 3 or 4 of my rods together there. So, just you develop, a better feel for it. Instead of having like a 7.6 rod and a 7.2 and a 6.9,
I totally agree.
I like to keep them all about the same, actually, not unless I'm cranking or it's a spinning rod or something.
Lew's makes a 7.3, and I think it's called like a Magnum Hammer. Yeah. It's like a 7.3 medium heavy, and it's a rod that I love for a lot of different techniques. And I'm like you, that if that rod can cover 3 or 4 or 5 or even 6 techniques, it's a lot easier for us to pick up a different rod, a same rod, different bait, as long as it works for that particular technique, just from a simple feel standpoint, sensitivity standpoint, and what you get accustomed to. So, and I use a lot of the custom pros that Lew's makes, and it's just a rod line that I've fell in love with over the past year. Lew's, I use a lot of the titanium reels, and I mean they're awesome setups, and it's kind of what you get a feel for, because you don't want to be changing. You don't, like you said, you don't want to be going to a 710 to a 7.6 to a 610 to a 7.1 to a especially different, same brand maybe, but different style rods, because I don't necessarily like doing that either.
And a lot of times I'm throwing the same line, so if something tears up, I can just pick up this other rod, tie it on there, and get right back after it.
Yep. All right, so we're getting a lot of answers, but I'm going to give y'all another hint.
You don't need to give a hint.
I don't need to give another hint. You think it's fixing to happen?
They're getting close.
Think it's getting ready to happen?
Guaranteed getting to happen, because I see what's happening.
Yeah, I see what's happening.
Oh, you see what's happening? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I got you.
Somebody's getting real close.
He said guaranteed.
And I'm only watching this one feed because it's too hard to watch both of them.
Clip Bruce. It's not past your bedtime there, buddy. Wow. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of
It's getting ready to happen.
All right, I know it's getting ready to happen.
I'm seeing a trend.
Let me let me scroll back. Todd signed the wall. Oh, Martine is the one that told us that. So answer is not jackhammer. That's definitely not. Did we make the me and Matt shirts available again? We haven't done that yet. So maybe by next week's show, possibly.
Possibly. I'm busy right now.
I could see that.
He's concentrating.
Not a multitasker. This guy sits behind computers in this office back here that looks like a scene out of Swordfish. I kid you not. Like with the big, when he sits down and he has to build the worm anyway. But yeah, that's what Jeff looks like back there in his little arena. I think he sits back there and plays that. Yeah. What do you play, Minecraft all day? Is that what you do?
Yeah, I'm a professional gamer. Nobody knew that until now. But
what's crazy about that is those guys have like more followers on social media than most celebrities out there.
I can't tell you my gamer name though.
I'm talking about millions and millions and millions.
I'm aware.
It's crazy.
Hey, I think I've seen the answer.
You're not a gamer. Let me see.
If you saw it, I'll give you the authority to call it.
Oh, yep. He does have a correct answer on there.
All right, call it.
Go ahead.
10 pounds, 10 ounces.
Well,
who's the winner?
Could you read the name?
Well, it went by too fast. Mark Robertson.
Mark Robertson.
Yeah.
Mark Robertson
I don't have
is
my
the
glasses
winner.
on,
And so it was at Santee Cooper. It was 10 pounds, 10 ounces. And what year was that? Do you know? You didn't have to give us the year.
That
Mark.
was one of the first FLW events I fished.
So 96, 97?
Probably back in there. I don't know.
Late 90s.
It was a long time ago. I can tell you that.
All right, so 10 pounds, 10 ounces, Santee Cooper. It's so funny because I saw all three, Mark, Bruce, and Clay Gallup, who are all three, they're triplets, buddies of ours down in South Carolina, and they they went and started counting 9.5, 9.7, 9.6, and they'd all get Santee. So everybody knew the lake. Everybody figured the lake out pretty quick, and that was the hint I was going to give. And I saw 10.8s, I saw 10.9s, I saw 10.11s.
It made it a little harder, though, because it was not big fish, 12, 14 Jimmy Dolan.
So they couldn't find it online.
Right.
Well, I don't know. It might be somewhere in your profile.
I don't know. But
they might could have Googled. We have a winner, by the way, y'all, just so you know. It was 10 pounds, 10 ounces, was Santee Cooper. And Todd gave me, we were going to ask, what's Todd's biggest fish and where did it come from? But I would have never guessed where it came from, but tell him what your biggest fish was.
it was a 10-11 on Lake Wylie.
10 pounds, 11 ounces on Lake
In
Wylie.
1999, though.
That's the year I graduated high school. Yeah. 1999.
But, you can't even fish in there anymore. It was at the Allison Creek discharge.
Oh, inside where the rope
It
is?
was right on the other side of that dock that's under the bridge. And now you can't even fish in there.
Oh, well, that's like me and this little skinny dude named Brian New. We won a tournament or two one time up in there where the other power plant is.
Okay.
But you can't fish in there anymore either.
Yeah, they closed them little sections off.
Yeah, we slipped in there and won a tournament or two. And there was back then there was no signs. There was a cable you could just go under and fish. There was no signs, nothing to say keep out. But after 9/11 and all that stuff, everything kind of hit the fan. All right, so guys, you're definitely going to want to watch this show back. Be sure to go on YouTube. I don't know if everybody knows it that watches our show, but my mom said...
That's why I put it up here.
What my mom said, good call on having Todd brings a bit of class to the show.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a crack on Thrift.
I don't know
me,
either.
Jeff.
But I put it up on the
It was
screen.
definitely a compliment for Todd. So thanks, Mom, I think. All right, I've never seen my mom comment on the show. So that's she
soon as I saw it,
she thinks very highly of you,
Soon
Mr.
as I
All.
saw
Well,
it,
thanks,
it was
man.
going up. I had to post it.
David Prince said that's a unicorn on Wylie, by the way, that 10-pounder. Mark Robertson, send us your shipping information. We'll get the Zoom baits out to you. We'll also get Swin to send you over a couple packs of that awesome Shiner Stash beef jerky.
Mark Gallup says, man, I stopped at 10.9. I know. I know.
We know you stopped at 10.9.
We've seen that.
And then y'all went backwards or something. So
Leave it to a Gallup.
yeah. But, all right, guys, be sure to watch the show back on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you hadn't already. We are uploading all our shows to YouTube. They're usually there within, 24 to 48 hours, something like that, roughly, depending on
Give
what
or
kind of
take a
mood Jeff's in.
I
Hey,
got nothing to do right now.
I was about to say,
so it'll probably be up tonight.
it might be up tonight or even tomorrow. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Todd, thanks a lot for coming up and being
Thank
on the
y'all.
show. I know we've tried to get you before.
Yep.
Like Daryl said, you're a very well-respected guy, great guest. Always been one of the good guys. Dude, I've always looked up to you, and you were fishing when I first started as a co-angler back in 2005.
Yep.
Between you, Bumgardner, some of the guys I got to travel with, like Jeffrey Thomas and Chris Elliott,
Yeah.
some of those guys that aren't even fishing anymore. Great group of guys. Really never met any bad pros from the Carolinas.
No.
Just saying. I mean, you got Thrift, but other than that, no, Thrift's awesome. But no, thanks for being on the show, man. We really do appreciate it.
No problem, anytime.
We'll definitely have you back. And in the meantime, guys, stay healthy, stay out of crowded places.
Buy lots of toilet paper.
Buy lots of toilet paper. Somebody did say earlier they would trade 2 rolls of TP for a fire crawl.
I only have
jackhammer.
one.
You only have one?
I only
I've got
have
2,
one.
so
The-
I'll let you know if we get shorted on it. I mean, I've got 3
Yeah.
living in the house, so you never know.
The Bass
We
Media
might-
got 2 of them, so I hadn't got them back
They
yet.
actually took them?
Yeah.
Oh, they eBayed them things. You
Probably
ain't
so.
seen them
That's
again.
$200
Bass,
right there
Bass's Media guys got a couple of his chatterbaits. That's funny. All right, guys, we can't go fishing. We're going to sit right here on Tuesdays and talk fish. We should see y'all next week.
Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Fish. Visit our private Facebook group to continue the conversation, post your questions, and talk with other fellow anglers at facebook.com/groups/Let's Talk Fish. Follow us on Instagram at Let's Talk Fish Official and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more exclusive content. Join us again next episode for more actionable tips, tactics, and techniques directly from the pros. And remember, when we can't go fishing, we're going to sit right here and talk fish.